So one problem I have is if someone tells me a story, I want to tell my own to try and relate, but also seems like I'm coming off as trying to make the conversation about me, so I've been trying to do less of that. I used to do that a lot. Like, I like to talk about my own experience so people know where I'm coming from, right? Like, I don't like to just start spouting out my ass without giving, like, ethos, you know, credibility to what I'm saying. Especially because, you know, in business, you have to do that. You're, like, trained to do that. And then being, like, female and then being in the work environment that I was in, too, I would have to constantly, like, make it very clear, you know, hey, the reason why I am sitting here is because I've done XYZ. Because you kind of get that, like, oh, are you someone's secretary treatment when you walk in the room? Stuff like that. People just assume a lot of stuff, so you have to be like, no, it's me. My name is this, and I've done these things, and blah, blah, blah. Like, you just have to remind people constantly, which is annoying. Like, no one really wants to do that. But then it's put me in a habit of doing that because I'm like, I just need people to know this so they don't have doubts in their mind. I don't really have to do that. I see it with chat too. If I, you know, I'm just a VTuber, right? I'm just a VTuber on the screen. But then if I talk about like a real life thing, people like just don't know anything about me on that front sometimes unless I tell them, right? And people are less likely to believe that a VTuber has any sort of normal life. Or has had, especially like previously. So I find any of us that talk about like our normal work or normal jobs, we feel like we have to mention it constantly, like go back and be like, by the way, yeah, I used to do this or whatever, or actively still do this. Because if you don't mention it, then you always get chatters being like, why do you know about this? Because they think you have like never lived any life other than this. So it makes you feel like you have to self-explain because you get the question if you don't. But then as you're doing it, you're like, ugh, because you don't like self-explaining. You know? Or self-describing, I should say. Not so much explaining. Just one of those things, like, I think you can't win. Makes sense why you feel the need to explain all the time. Well, the other thing is, like, you have viewers that are regulars, right? Who are here, like, all the time. So they're, like, familiar. You don't have to say this shit to them. They remember, like, oh, yeah, you used to work in this thing, or this person used to do this sport, or, oh, yeah, you play this instrument, or you used to in the past. Like, that kind of stuff. But not everyone does. There are new people in and out all the time. But, yeah, for those people's sakes, you, like, always have to restate. I think that's the thing I've learned to become okay with the most with streaming. Like the most annoying thing to adjust to is feeling like I'm repeating myself all the time. But then you have to remember, like, if you've had a conversation once, it doesn't mean everyone there has listened to it once. Some have, but a lot of people are not there every single day, you know? So people will ask the same questions over and over and they'll want to have the same conversations, you know, or whatever, because they want to be able to talk to you about a thing live. So you end up talking about the same stuff pretty often. I've learned to just like not be bothered by that. It was at first I was like, this is really annoying because it made me feel like I'm being annoying, but I was just only annoying myself, not really anyone else, you know? You watched a Thor stream where he said the same thing like 5 times over the course of 20 minutes. Yeah, he's one of the ones though where it's like, I know people really beat on him the past year, but there's a difference between saying it once per conversation about that thing and then saying it like a ton. And then I think people more so had the issue with him that he would bring it up like when it wasn't always relevant. And that was more so the annoying part because it was like, it felt like sometimes he was saying it just to say it. It's different if someone's like, why do you know about game dev? And then he's like, oh, I used to do this thing, which I think people have found out later. They're like, I don't know if that guy really did any development at Blizzard. You know, like, I don't think that was his role. But, you know, if like someone asked and it was relevant, I could understand it. But then he would also say it at times where like, we didn't need that, you know? And I think that kind of stuff was where people started to like, not like it so much. I think a lot of people actually really liked hearing him talk about this stuff anyway, because they just didn't know whether it was like real or not. And then now in hindsight that they're hearing about the negatives of him, suddenly they're like bashing him really hard, which I get. I think some people would have been like, had he not been called out for anything, they would have been perfectly fine just to sit there and keep listening to him talk. I think what he's good at instead, he focused too much on like his background or whatever. I think he was more so better at like the feel-good content where he would like give some advice but give it in a really nice way that encourages people, and I think he should have just stuck to that. So I feel like that's what I used to see from him early on, was him more so giving like regular life advice but posed nicely. And then I feel like over time it turned into just like him covering some decision in the games industry and then reminding you about Blizzard again. And I was like, okay, well, where's your nice advice thing again? Because that was good. Like, I don't know. He still does that when he gets asked, but all kind of soured someone after the whole WoW thing. Yeah. I just don't know why he didn't just I'm still baffled with that because, like, my read on the situation is it was an ego thing. He just could not, it physically pained him so much to admit that he just made a bad move without then launching into some other discussion, right? Like, because he'd be like, oh, I admitted it at some point. Like, I did say, yeah, maybe, you know, I could have, like, he started off with being like, absolutely not. I should not have done that. Something. And then, like, way over time with a ton of bashing and everything, he, like, eventually lightened up a little and was like, it could have been possible, but, you know, but it was never just like, yeah, bad move, my bad, with no explanation, right? Like, if he didn't, like, give excuses or anything, I don't know, I feel like that's a hallmark of someone who doesn't trust that other people can understand anything in this world without explanation. And a lot of people will feel like when you do that, like, you're belittling them or you're looking down upon their communication skills, you know? So it's just, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I don't know. I guess he's just not the type to see that, so it didn't work out. He definitely made it worse for himself. Could have just stopped talking. You know, he could have just stopped talking. That's literally all he had to do, I think. Let it blow over. That's what I'm still baffled by. I'm like, just stop, you know? And he just wouldn't stop talking about everything. He would keep bringing back up. That was the point where I was like, man, now he's being stupid, you know?